I was trailed by 20 hounds. Didn't get to sleep last night till the morning came around. Set out and running, but I'll take my time. A friend of the devil is a friend of mine. If I get home before daylight, just might get some sleep tonight. Well, I ran into the devil, baby, and he loaned me 20 bills. Spent the night in Utah in a cave up in the hills. I set out running, but take my time. A friend of the devil is a friend of mine. If I get home before daylight, just might get some sleep tonight. Early one morning the sun was shining and I was laying in bed, wondering if she changed at all, if her hair was still red. Her folks said our lives together sure wasn't gonna be rough. I never did like a mama's homemade dress, and papa's bank book wasn't big enough. Well, I was standing on the side of the road with the rain falling on my shoes, heading out for the East Coast. Lord knows I paid some dues getting through. Tangled up in blue. She was mad when we first met and soon to be divorced. Helped her out of a jam, I guess, but I used a little too much force. So we drove back cars as far as we could, abandoned it out west. Separated on the docks that night, both agreeing it was for the best. I turned around and looked at her as she was walking away. Heard her say over my shoulder, you know, we'll meet again someday on the avenue. Tangled up in blue. Had a job in the great North Woods, working as a cook for a spell, but I never did like it all that much, and one day the axe just fell. So I drifted on down to New Orleans, where I was lucky to be employed, working on a while on a fishing boat right outside of Delacroix. And all the while that I was alone, though the past was close behind, seen a lot of women, but she never escaped my mind, and I just grew tangled up in blue. She was working in a topless place, and I stopped in for a beer. I just kept looking at the side of her face in the spotlight so clear. Later on, as the crowd thinned out, I was just about to do the same. She was standing there, riding back in my chair. I said, "Oh, honey, don't I know your name?" I muttered something underneath of my breath, and she studied the lines of my face. Must admit I felt a little uneasy when she bent out and tied the laces of my shoe. Tangled up in blue. Lit a burner on the stove and she offered up me a pipe. I thought she'd never say hello. She said, "You know, you look like the silent type." And then she opened up a book of poems and handed it to me, written by an Italian poet from the 13th century. And every one of them words rang true, and they glowed like a burning coal, pouring off of every page like it was written in my soul. From me to you, tangled up in blue. She lived with him on Montague Street in a basement downstairs. There was music in the cafes, a night, a revolution in the air. He started in a dealing with slaves, and something inside of her died. She had to sell everything she owned, and she froze right up inside. Till one day, you know, the bottom fell out, and I became withdrawn. The only thing that I knew how to do was to keep on keeping on like a bird that flew. I said, tangled up in blue. Now I'm going back again, I gotta get back to her somehow. All the people that we used to know, they're an illusion to me now. Some are mathematicians, some are carpenters' wives. I don't know how they all got started, I don't know what they do with their lives. Me, I'm still on the road, I'm just heading for another joint. We always did agree, we just saw it from a different kind of point of view. Yeah, tangled up in blue. 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 Ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe, if you don't know by now. And it ain't no use to sit and wonder why, baby, it don't matter anyhow. When your rooster crows at the break of dawn, look out your window, baby, and I'll be gone. You're the reason that I'm traveling home, but don't think twice, it's alright. And it ain't no use calling out my name, gal, like you never done before. And it ain't no use calling out my name, honey, I can't hear you anymore. Well, I'm thinking and I'm wondering, walking all the way down the road. Now, I once loved a woman, you know, a child, I'm told. Gave her my heart, but she wanted my soul. But don't think twice, it's alright. So long to you, now my honey baby, where I'm bound, you know that I can't tell. Yes, and goodbye is just too good of a word, baby. So I just say fare thee well. And I ain't saying you treated me unkind. No, you could have done better, baby, but I don't mind. Hey, you just kind of wasted some of my precious time. But don't think twice, it's alright. But don't think twice, it's alright. But don't think twice, it's alright. It's alright. How much is your time worth? How much do you have to spare? Did you live out any dreams today? Did you use up your fair share? Or did you spend time with the ones you love? Did you tell her that you care? Or did you sit and watch the idiot box from the big old easy chair? Well, they call it prime time, a nice little rhyme for the American pastime, our cultural crime. A couple of hours to deaden your mind, such a small value you place on your time. The sitcoms are user-friendly, with laughter from a can. The news has been turned into the movie of the week, much easier to understand. It doesn't matter what you watch, you might as well be blind. Don't expect to see anything about you when you give up your prime time. Well, they call it prime time, a nice little rhyme for the American pastime, our cultural crime. A couple of hours to deaden your mind, such a small value you place on your time. Minutes and man-made measurement to calculate just when you've been strung together that tell you when it's time for the evening's big event. These minutes can't be bought or sold, they can't be saved for a later date. Use them and they've quickly gone, waste them and they've gone away. When a fool puts no value on his time, he usually lets it go real cheap. If you wasted watching television, you deserve what you get to keep. That's right. How much is your time worth? How much do you have to spare? Did you live out any dreams today? Did you use up your fair share? Or did you spend time with the ones you love? did you tell her that you care? Or did you sit and watch the idiot box from the big old easy chair? There are thousands dead in the fields around Gettysburg, blue and gray stained with the color of blood. Should have called it quits in the fields around Gettysburg. 2 more years of fighting till they finally had enough. Brother killing brother in the fields around Gettysburg. Bayonet and rifle are the order of the day. Generals calling shots in the fields around Gettysburg. No one had the sense to simply walk away. Take up a collection for a national cemetery. 50,000 men would donate all they had. 50,000 crosses to keep alive his memory. Monument to celebrate the trouble that we had. Woke up from a dream in the fields around Gettysburg. All around me soldiers laying, no one made a sound. Looking for redemption in the fields around Gettysburg. How could such a noble dream bring us to this town? Take up a collection for a national cemetery. 50,000 men would donate all they had. 50,000 crosses to keep alive his memory. Monument to celebrate the nightmare that we had. The nightmare that we had. The nightmare that we had. There are thousands dead in the fields around Gettysburg. Thousands dead in the fields around Gettysburg. There are thousands dead in the fields around Gettysburg. 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 Worked by the rain, driven by the snow. I'm drunk and dirty, and don't you know I'm still Willin. Was out on the road late last night, and I see my pretty Alice. Every headlight, you know Alice, the Dallas Alice. And I been from Tucson to Tucumcari, the hatchet beat a torn apart, driven every kind of rig that's ever been made. I driven the back road so I wouldn't get away. If you give me wheat, whites, and wine, and you show me a sign, well, I'll be willing to be moving. Kicked by the wind, right by the sleet, had my head stoved in mud. I'm still on my feet, now I'm still in a whole lot of trouble. Smuggled some smokes and folks from Mexico, baked by the sun every time I go to Mexico. And I'm still and I've been from Tucson to Tucumcari, to Hatchapee to torn apart, driven every kind of rig that's ever been made. I driven the back roads so I wouldn't get away. And if you give me wheat, whites, and wine, and you show me a sign, I'll be willing to be moving. I'll be willing to be moving. We could share the women, we could share the wine. We could share what we got of yours, 'cause we done shared all of mine. Keep on rolling, just a mile to go. Keep on rolling, my old buddy, you're moving much too slow. I just jumped the watchman right outside the fence. Took his rings for bucks and change. Now, ain't that heaven sent? Hurts my ears to listen, shining that burns my eyes to see. Cut down a many cold blood shedding, might as well be me. Used to play for silver, now we play for life. Once for sport and once for blood at point of the knife. Not a die shaking, not a dime must fall. There ain't no winner in this game, you know. You don't go home with all, not with all. Leaving Texas, 4th day of July. sun so hot, the clouds so low, the eagles fill the sky. Catch a Detroit lightning out of Santa Fe. Great Northern out of Cheyenne, from sea to shining sea. Gotta go to Tulsa, the first train we can ride. Gotta settle that one old score, you know, one small point of pride. Ain't no place a man can hide, Shannon, we'll keep him from the sun. Ain't a bed can give us rest now, you know, you keep us on the run, on the run. Jack's from Wichita cut his buddy down, dug for him a shallow grave and laid his body down. Half a mile from Tucson by the morning light. Well, there's a one man gone and another to go. My whole buddy, you're moving much too slow. We can share the women, we can share the wine. Let's talk that weeping willow, how to cry, cry, cry. Salt the clouds, how to cover up a clear blue sky. Tears cry when a woman gonna flood you big river. Yeah, well, I'm gonna sit right here until I die. Well, I met her accidentally in St. Paul, Minnesota. It tore me up every time I heard that drawl, that southern drawl. Well, I heard my dream, went back downstream, cavorting in Davenport. And she followed you a big river when you go. And I taught that weeping willow how to cry, to cry, to cry. Taught the clouds how to cover up a clear blue sky. She's crying for that woman gonna flood you big river. Yeah, well, I'm gonna sit right here until I die. Play that bass, Jam. Later on down the river, Freddie said she'd been here, boy, she gone, boy, she gone. Well, I followed her down to Memphis, but she just walked off the bus. She raised a few eyebrows and she went on down alone. When I talk bad weeping willow, how to cry, to cry, to cry. I taught the clouds how to cover up a clear blue sky. And she's crying that a woman gonna flood you big river, yeah, well, right here until I die. Well, I'm a-boating on down to Baton Rouge, River Queen, roll on. Take that woman down to New Orleans, New Orleans. I give up 'cause I've had enough. I've done my blues right down in the Gulf. But she loves you, Big River, more than me. And that's how bad we've been. Willow, 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 how to cry, how to cry, how to cry, cry, cry. Talk the clouds, how to cover up a clear blue sky. And tears cry with that woman gonna flood you, Big River. Yeah, well, I'm gonna sit right here until I die. Well, I taught that weeping willow, 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 how to cry, how to cry, how to cry. Taught the clouds how to cover up a clear blue sky. Tears cry with that woman gonna flood you, Big River. Yeah, well, I'm gonna sit right here until I die. When I taught that weeping willow how to cry, cry, cry. Taught the clouds how to cover up a clear blue sky. Tears cry with that woman gonna flood you, Big River. Yeah, well, I'm gonna sit right here until I die. That's right. Well, I'm gonna sit right here until I die. Well, I'm gonna sit right here until I die. Floating down through the clouds, memories come rushing up to meet me now. But in the space between the heavens and the corner of some foreign field, I had a dream. I had a dream. Goodbye, Max. Goodbye, Mom. After the service, when you're walking slowly to the car, and the silver in her hair shines in the cold November air, you hear the tolling bell and touch the silk of your lapel. And as the teardrops rise to greet the comfort of the band, you take her frail hand and hold on to the dream. Place to stay, enough to eat. Somewhere old heroes, they shuffle safely down the street, where you can speak out loud about your doubts and fears. And what's more, no one ever disappears. You know they have their standard issue kicking in your door. You can relax on both sides of the tracks, and maniacs don't blow in bandsmen by remote control. And everyone has recourse to the law, and no one kills the children anymore. No one kills the children anymore. Night after night, going round and round my brain, this dream is driving me insane. In the corner of some foreign field, the gunner sleeps tonight. What's done is done. We cannot just write off this final scene. Thank you. Take heed to the dream. Take heed to the dream. Loaded up the wagon with trip supplies. Kinfolk in the street all waving goodbye. Setting on the trail to the western sky. I know we make a better living if we can survive. Well, the first 100 miles only took 3 days, 'cause the Pequot Nation was still in our way. Paid for our gas with pockets of change, headed out back on the lonesome range. If we could only make it to Haven, if we could only find some tickets to the show, if we could only score a little kind bud. 20 miles east of Syracuse, almost hit a cop when the tire came loose. Didn't have a spare, only an excuse, and a half a pound of nugs from a freak named Rick. From a freak named Nick. If we could only make it to Pittsburgh, if we could only find some tickets to the show, if we could only puff a little nitrous. Didn't get loose till the second night. Terrapin was short, but the plane was tight. Jerry played a stranger with a broken string. Brent turned into Bruce and Phil began to sing. Scott in a fire, Steven into space. Went to take a leak and someone stole my face. Someone stole my face. camping in the mountains of the Great Divide, wagging up and died back and tell you ride. Eating nuts and berries, we were barely alive. We couldn't time a ride no matter how we tried. We could only make it to Vegas if we could only find some tickets to the show. We could only drop a little liquid. Tickets to the show, we could only hear them play. But in Nazareth, I was a feeling about a half past dead. Just needed to find a place where I could lay my head. Hey, mister, can you tell me where a man might find a bed? He just grinned and shook my hand. I know it's all he said. Take a load off Annie. Take a load for free. Take a load off Annie. And put the load right on me. Picked up my bags. I went looking for a place to hide. When I saw old Common and the devil, they were walking on a side by side. And I said, hey, Common, well, come on, and won't you go downtown? And she said, no, I gotta go, but my friend can't stick around. And take a load off Annie. Take a load for free. Take a load off Annie. Hey, put the load right on me. Go down, Moses, there ain't nothing that you can say. 'Cause it's just old Luke, and Luke has been waiting on the judgment day. Well, now Luke, my friend, what about young and Lee? He said, now do me a favor, boy, won't you go and keep me Santa Lee company? Take a load off Annie. Take a load for free. Take a load off Annie. Hey, you put the load right on me. Crazy Chester followed me, and he caught me in the fog. He He said, I will fix you right if you take on a Jack, my dog. I said, wait a minute, Chester, you know that I'm a peaceful man. He said, now that's okay, boy, you just feed him whatever you can. And take a load off Annie, take a load for free, take a load off Annie. Hey, put the load right on me. Gonna catch a cannonball now to take me on down the line. My flag is sinking, Lord, and I do believe it's time to get back to Mississippi. You know that she's the only one who'd stand me here with her regards for everyone. Take a load off Annie, take a load for free, take a load off Annie. Hey, put the load right on me, right on me. It wasn't very large, there was just enough room to cram the drums in the corner of a Bible Dodge. It was a 54 with a mashed up door and a cheesy little lamp, with a sign on the front said Fender Champ and a second-hand guitar. It was a Telecaster without a whammy bar. We could jam at Joe's garage. His mama was screaming, his dad was mad, and we were playing the same old song in the afternoon, and sometimes we would play it all night long. It was all we knew, and easy too, so we wouldn't get it wrong. All we did was bend the string like rin-ton-tin-ton-tin-ton-tin-o-nin-o-nin. Down at Joe's garage, we didn't have no dope or LSD, but a couple of quarts of beer. We'd fix it so the intonation would not offend your ear, and the same old chords going over and over became a symphony. We could play it again and again and again, 'cause it sounded good to me. That's right, one more time. Jam in Joe's garage. His mama was screaming, turn it down. We was playing the same old song, la la, in the afternoon. And sometimes we would play it all night long. It was all we knew, and easy too, so we wouldn't get it wrong. Even if we played it on a saxophone now. Well, we thought we was pretty good. We talked about keeping the band together, and we figured that we should. 'Cause about this time we was getting the eye from the girls in the neighborhood. They'd all come over and dance around like,
since my baby left me, ooh, I found a new place to dwell. Hey, so
we picked out a stupid name, had some cards printed up for a couple of bucks, and we was on our way to fame. Had matching suits and Beatle boots and the sign on the back of the car, and we was ready to work in a go-go bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, roll a joint and smoke some more. People seem to like our song, oh yeah. They got up and danced and made a lot of noise, and it wasn't for very long. A guy from a company that we can't name said we ought to take his pen and sign on the line for a real good time, but he would not tell us when. These good times would be something that was really happening. So the band broke up. Oh shit, what a drag. And it looks like woo, woo, we will never play again. Yeah. Yes, you only get one chance in life to play a song that goes like, turn it down. I have children sleeping here. Don't you boys know any nice songs? I'm calling the fucking police.
oh, not again.
That's right. I warned you enough times to stop playing that crap.
Ha, ha.
Well, the years go rolling by.
Yeah.
Heavy metal and glitter rock had caught the public eye. Snotty boys with lipstick on was really flying high. And then they got that disco thing and the new wave came along. All of a sudden I thought the time had come for that old song we used to play in Joe's garage, and if I am not wrong, you will soon be dancing to the white zone. Is for loading or unloading only. If you need to load or unload or whatever, go to the white zone where the years go rolling by. Yeah. Well, the years go rolling by. Yeah. Remember to go to the white zone. Well, the years go rolling by. Yeah. Look, I'll buy you a pizza. The years go rolling by. You know, we used to jam in Joe's garage. He was a nice boy.
He used to cut the grass. The sunset reflected in your mirrored shades. The last rays of the sun fall on the sandcastle you made. Your final deed on earth will soon be swallowed by a wave. Everything's in order for this day to end all days. The ones you love the most are softly sitting by your side, just holding hands in silence, simply waiting for you to there's nothing more to say. Everything's in order for this
this day to end. Oh, everything's in order for this day to end all days. There's no time for remorse before it all grinds to a halt. There's nobody to blame, it wasn't anybody's fault. Another day would be so fine. One more chance to hear the music of the morning breaking. Another day comes, no mistaking. Once again the world is waking. One more chance to live this life without living in fear. The stars begin appearing now as night falls with a hush. Are you in the audience? Are they watching up above? And will the answers be revealed about the part you play? Everything's in order for this day to end. I said everything's in order for this day to end. To end all day, or to end all day. Everything's in order for this day to end all day. Buckets of rain, buckets of tears, got all them buckets coming out of my ears. Buckets of moonbeams in my head. You get all the love, honey, baby, I can stand. I've been meek and hard like an oak, seen pretty people disappear like smoke. Friends will arise, friends will disappear. If you want me, honey, baby, I'll be here. Little red wagon, a little red bike. Ain't no monkey, but I know what I like. Like the way you love me strong and slow. Taking you with me, honey, baby, when I go.